finally starting to discover how important, the influencers are. And it used to be a joke, right?
Right.
Like it was only a year or two ago, people were really cracking on influencers. But in the last year, what we've learned is that when something like this happens, the influencers on social media and on the internet are key. And
Two things to that point.
yeah,
The ones that people were riffing on, it was this kind of pretentious Instagram influencer, these kind of the models. I mean, forget about
yeah. The fake
know,
ones, the
one.
fake, yeah.
The thing is, and the reason why, when I talk to this Run for Something, and they've been around since 2017, and they're like a solid organization, they have no imprint whatsoever in TikTok. So it's actually, we're almost like a new breed
Yeah,
in terms of what we can offer.
we are, and it's funny because Nikki and I, we were talking the other day. A lot of the political people are starting to come out with their own podcasts now, but it was like when we traced it back, Nikki and I were like, I don't know, I think we were one of the first, if not the first, political TikTokers to go out there and do a podcast, and we were two strangers that met off of TikTok.
Right.
So it really does go to show you how influential that application can be if they stop censoring us all the freaking time. And if we can harness that for Run for Something, in combination with ourselves and what we're trying to do, I think that would be outstanding.
Yeah, so that's the big goal. That's like the big hope that we can do that. But I also think we should like reach out to like Stacey Abrams' organization. You know what I mean?
I'd love to work with her.
Once we have our tits like in a bra kind of thing,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term.
The more people we have, which everybody that comes to the table is bringing their reach, So, and when we go to an organization like Stacey Abrams' organization, we can say, look, between all of us, we can reach over 10 million people in a couple hours.
Yeah.
So
I think it could hit 1 million. This is us doing you. You know what I mean? You could be our version of Run. We can all support you. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. Let's just, in our own simplest way, without being too much pressure, like low key, just let's get a little organized, and you do what we do naturally every day,
Yeah, man.
And if we're able to help with messaging, like I told that woman, I said, you can't like tell us to not be who we are when we're communicating with our people. If you have, the beauty of us is that we know how to message better than most Democrats because that are in public. That's op service.
Yeah.
And we get to the people's heart. That no commercial and actually, they did find out that Lincoln Project wasn't as effective as they pretended to be. Did you know that?
Oh, I mean, they had a following, and honestly, they had a following, and they brought people together that normally wouldn't have gotten together. They served their purpose. Was it as effective as they would have led everybody to believe? No, but it was effective. I mean, I'm not gonna take that from them.
It was amazing. I love
it. Absolutely.
But kind of in a funk right now, unfortunately.
What's that?
They're in a funky situation right now, which is
what's going on with them.
One of the people who started it, they have like one of these big Hollywood, big DC kind of what are those people that go and the lobbyists.
Lobbyists.
Sounds like one of these big lobbyists was using his position to get young boys, and
of course
a few of the people in the office kept it quiet. So people like who I adore, Mike Schmidt, that guy that's always on MSNBC, Republican. He's one of the people that was keeping it quiet. And Rick Wilson didn't keep it quiet, but he was on my favorite podcast, is the Daily Beasts.
Rick Wilson?
He's amazing. He hates Trump as much as you and me.
Yeah, I was good because he's on my Twitter all the time.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he wasn't guilty of that.
Okay.
Because everyone in there was kind of like, who knew one did it? Because it, so
and everybody has pieces too, and nobody has the whole picture, and
right.
you know.
So they all kind of, so Rick got off the podcast, which is really upsetting because he's hilarious. But it's still a great podcast. I don't know if you like podcasts, but The New Abnormal, amazing. Yeah, so now, so they're all like in a funk. They were ultimately, they wanted to start the Lincoln Party if they were, you know.
Yeah.
They could have, but.
You know, something needs to happen there, man. You know, the more I get my feet wet, you know, I'm realizing more and more that there needs to be more viable parties. And I'm starting to go research, like, you know, in Denmark and all these other places that have like legit 8 and 10 and 12 viable parties.
Which is what I wanted to bring up to Patty yesterday when he was talking about, like, well, in Europe, that would never happen because they have a parliamentary system. We don't have that. We have like this.
I love Patty, but everybody acts like he's always right. I'm like, he sat on my podcast and told me that the two Democrats in Georgia would not win, and I bet him that they would, and they won.
Yeah,
you know. So it's like I'm sitting there, I'm like, he's not always right, guys. This isn't the way that this is played. Right. You know, I love Patty. Like, you know, he's one of my favorite people on here, but there's a way that American politics are played that he doesn't see. He sees a lot of shit where he's at, and he's very good at analyzing it.
Yes.
But there's a part of the personal aspect of, I think, getting into the game that he just doesn't click.
There's that, and the thing is that he doesn't have the kind of skin in the game as we do.
True. Yeah, and he acknowledged that. He acknowledged that.
So our hope against hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it mattered or not doesn't matter, but you have to believe certain things.
Yeah.
In order for them to either happen or not. You know, either you hope and then it happens and you're right, or you hope and you're disillusioned, but you can't call. That's why it pisses me off when people are saying Trump's definitely going to win. Trump's definitely. All my family was like, Trump's definitely winning, and I'm like, you know what? Rather than sit here and like play Monday morning quarterback on Thursday, why don't you like make a few phone calls for Amy McGrath or something, you know?
Yeah.
So and that's why everyone's saying that Trump's going to run in 2024. The guy is going to go be nowhere back then.
I agree. Here's the unfortunate thing. I have to keep talking about it. I really believe that I have to keep talking about it on Twitter and stuff because it's still happening. Yeah. You know, they really did wheel that golden, you know, thing into the building the other day. Lauren Boebert really did sit up there, you know, and criticize, you know, everybody and say, we're coming to take everybody's Second Amendment right and First Amendment right. And that, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to take the 14th Amendment right. And that women won't even be able to vote by the time the Democrats are done. She literally stood up on the stage and said that in a matter of 2 minutes. She just went total rhetoric, you know, right field, you know, like she normally does. And it's, unfortunately, we have to keep talking about it because that's what they're doing. This is their game planning. This is their spin up. Yeah. This is them planning what they're going to do next. And if you thought the last 4 years were bad, wait until you see what they're going to do this time to try to take over.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that.
I don't think in our lifetime we're going to see like a multi-party system. We might see an independent one stronger in the next 8 years, 10, 12 years.
I might see it if I make it to old bones. I might see it.
I mean, that guy Jolly, who used to be a congressperson. I don't know if you've seen him. He's a kind of a frequent guest on MSNBC. Mm-hmm. He was a congressman, I think, either in Florida or Ohio, one of those swing states. But he was talking recently that he wanted to run as an independent in light of what was happening with all the people jumping off the Republicans because of the Trump thing.
Yeah,
I still think that here's what I think, and this is why I feel really comfortable about everything I'm about to say. Yes, there's 74 million people like that. But if they become more that way, the way they're leaning, they're not going to get 74 million. They're just not, because 74 million people don't want to see fascism. You know what I mean?
But do you see how they're attacking Biden already?
Of course they are. They're insane.
No, our side. Like people on our side.
Ridiculous.
I'm like, what the are you people doing?
Yeah.
Like he's been in there 40 days.
It's
and this bombing. Oh my God. Like it was a proportional military response. I get it. Nobody likes bombing anybody. Trust me. He doesn't like sleeping at night, having to make that call either, you know? But at the end of the day, it was a military response. And somebody on my Twitter that's been following me since the beginning, they're like, oh, so that's the answer is to bomb. I'm like, guys, what's the point of having a military if we're not going to use it? I go, and most important, I'm like, if we start letting people just start killing Americans and American contractors overseas, do you not see how that snowballs into a worse situation?
Yeah, and that somebody was saying that there were more dead American military men in the 4 years of Trump than in the whole time with Obama. Is
that true?
Yes, that's what somebody was talking about.
I'll have to go look that up because I just hadn't thought to look that up.
And the thing is, he has to show that he's got a dick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's just
well, dude. I mean, we've been getting hosed for the last 3-4 years by the likes of the Russians, and now we have to show everybody, not just them, but we got to show our allies too that we are back to being their ally, and a valuable ally at that.
Yeah, we have to show strength again, and Trump wasn't showing strength. He ignored what happened in Syria, that whole horrible situation with the Kurds. That was like a nightmare. Yep. And then
we abandoned them. We abandoned them. Like, let's call it what it is. We abandoned them.
Horrible. And the whole time, I mean, we could obsess and waste a lot of time rehashing all the.
Oh God, yeah.
But just the fact that we sat by for 4 years and were helpless to watch, like the way Jared Kushner did those dirty dealings with MSB, and like, what?
Yeah.
They was stealing money, billions of gold and cash and oil money so that Jared could fix the 666 Fifth Avenue building that was in arrears. And that, did you see Steve Mnuchin? You know that story that's happening now? Remember Steve Mnuchin, the guy that was in charge of the financial guy, that piece of shit that was photographed with his wife with all those dollars.
With the dollars, yeah.
He, within a month of being in the White House, has already established a business deal with Saudi Arabia. What are all the countries that the Abraham Accords, that bullshit deal,
Emirates and all that.
My husband is Israeli, and he said like nobody gives a shit about like those countries
that they just did this peace deal with.
All about just being able to waltz in there and say, okay, we need $800 billion because we're going to buy all this real estate.
And on top of it, Trump got the positive publicity of look at this
Abraham Accords. I was like saying it's a total non-starter.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he now has a deal that he's creating a big business fund with all those countries. Like, what? And this, anyway, so it just is infuriating. So that's why I just think that I think we had 81 million people vote for what's his face, right? For Joe Biden.
Yep.
If what we see is happening even more so, if there's more of a Marjorie Taylor Greene party developing, we're going to get 95 million people next time around.
I think so too.
Because 80 million people don't vote.
And honestly, like I do go through, like I told you, I've adopted a total new way of doing my social media. I don't go on everybody else's pages, and I don't read every comment. I just can't, for my mental health and plus time. I've got 2 podcasts, all this shit. I can't. All right. Talk to you later.
Have a great weekend.
You too, man.
Side.